Right, now it's a simple matter of popping the motor back in the casing. Pop your 2 screws in the bottom, as so. If you've got a shorter screw, put it in that corner, because it needs a shorter screw there. They don't all have that, but this one. And just offer your motor up. It is easier with a handle socket off, but I don't normally need to take it out. Offer it up and try and get it in the right place. Get your long screwdriver down through the slot at the back and locate the head of the screw and attempt to do that screw up. Go over to this side and try this one. I think I've cracked it. I've been trying to do this for ages. I've never known such an awkward machine. Normally it's just straightforward, but tighten the bottom screws now. Right, that's that one. And then this one. You can go through the handle socket hole now if you want. It is easier actually to take the handle socket off, but normally you can do it without. But I've done it in this case because it's been a bit tricky. So often you find that with reconditioned machines. I mean, a lot of these juniors have been reconditioned and they sort of swap the parts about and they put all sorts of odd parts in. They're not always the original parts and the screws don't fit properly and that. They're what you call a bodge up really, I think. I mean, we used to do them. We had a proper spraying booth and we did them properly, I'd like to think, but some people weren't so careful. Right, that's that bit done. So it's just a matter of the switch and the connections now. So the switch is quite straightforward. All you got to do is drop the little foot pedal in. And it rests on the side of the motor. Don't know if you can see that there, side of the motor. Then you need your spring. Don't forget your spring. That goes on top of there. And then your switch goes down through the middle. And you want 2 little self-tapping screws which holds the switch in place. And you'll see I've got a good selection of screws here. Those 2 will do for the switch, so we'll pop that in there. Actually that screwdriver's a bit small, that Phillips. You want a bigger one really. Where's my bigger one gone? Oh, the short handle one. I probably lost it trying to get that motor in place. This one, it's sometimes easier to put the screws in the holes before you put the switch in. It's a bit fiddly afterwards. There we go. It's taken me ages to do this, but I'll tell you what, I bet I've done it quicker than James May did things in his program, The Reassemblers, when he took things apart, because it took him all day to do some simple jobs, and he had a crew with him helping him. I'm on my own, I'm controlling the camera, and talking and thinking what I'm doing, and doing the work as well, all on my own. So, normally this job doesn't take very long, if you're used to it, I suppose. You don't see many of these now, unfortunately. They scrap most of them, but they're a lovely little machine, better than anything you can buy today. They're all plastic now. My daughter prefers these older machines, and so do we. We've got them in the house. They've gone forever practically. And the metal bodies are the best. The later juniors, they changed to a plastic body. The reason being, they said that it was better because it was lighter. But the real reason was it's cheaper, obviously. They're not better. Because the weight doesn't make a lot of difference when you're pushing it along the ground anyway, does it? It's only when you're carrying it, I suppose. You can see those screws there. That one there, as you can see, you might not be able to see on the camera. I don't know whether I can. It's just got a little burn mark on there. That's what I was saying earlier about pins used to fall on there and get across them and short them out, and then you go off with a bang and the customer be scared to death. And it's just a pin or something got in there, and that's where they put the little pad on afterwards. Right, that's the 2 mains connections. Make sure they're tight. And that's that bit done now. Next job is to pop the handle socket back on. These do sometimes wear out, but I don't suppose you can get new ones now. These little ratchets wear out. Make sure you put it on the right way around with that little hook facing forwards. It just slots in there. Like that. There are 4 screws. There's 2 on the back and 2 on the front. Put the 2 back ones in first. The front ones hold the wheels, the axle shaft. Just pop those 2 in. And take your rear wheel axles with the 2 screws already in. And you'll notice the one end of the wheel's got a square on the shaft and one's round. So it can only go one way. That's the square end. That's the round end. So that just pops on there. You push that over the spring. And then the 2 screws go through the holes. Like so, and make sure the axle fits into the little slots. Make sure the spring's in the right place, which I haven't done. It's a long time since I did one of these actually. We used to do thousands of them. and tighten the screws up. I hope this video is of interest to somebody who's got a Hoover Junior, because I like to keep them going if I can. It's a shame that so many of these have been scrapped. At one time, there was such a roaring trade in reconditioned Hoovers that Hoover limited themselves. They used to offer a fair trading price to shops. They used to say to shops, you know, give them a good price on that cleaner to get them to buy a new one, and then they'd give the dealer the money, and then they'd scrap these. They'd take them and smash them up to stop people reconditioning, because they were losing sales to reconditioned machines. And it's a great shame, really, because we had a roaring trade in reconditioned Hoovers. I'll just pop a bit of oil on this wheel when I'm at it. I did the other side earlier, if you remember. Just put a little bit. Don't put too much on, or else it will get on the customer's carpet, and then they won't be happy. Just put enough to sort of make it run nice and smoothly. That's that bit done. Now we've got the front wheel assembly to get the dirt and dust off. That one's come off. There's a little circlip missing off there, but in actual fact in this case it won't matter because it's held on by the body. I'm just going to get the dust off that, because this is my daughter's machine. She probably won't notice anyway, although she might watch the video, so I've got to be careful, haven't I? They always get fluff build up in there, and unless you wash them, which is a lot of hassle, you can't get it all out. But it doesn't matter much. Again, put a spot of oil on, because it makes an enormous difference. They always used to say in the old days, when you go in to service a Hoover, the most important thing to do was to fit a new belt, fit new brushes if they're worn, and oil the wheels. Because no matter what sort of job you made on the cleaner, you could take it all apart and clean it up, and the motor would run beautifully. If you left the wheels unoiled and they'd squeak, the customer never thought anything of it. If you just oiled the wheels, they thought you'd done a wonderful job. Pop the two screws in there. Yep, that's one. We're getting there now, nearly finished. You'll see me to say, oh, thank God that's over. Right, get your bottom plate, clean it off, make sure your pad's on there. That simply hooks under that little hook at the back we mentioned earlier and fits on there. And then you've got two screws that drop in there. And I've got to find the other screw, because if you remember, it dropped inside the cleaner and I didn't retrieve it, so it's probably gone up in the Hoover now. But never mind, I've got some more in the cupboard, so I'll do that afterwards. Get that bit done. Make sure you put your furniture guard back up over that slot to hide the slot. And that's the motor part done now. Turn it over. Always make sure when you've done a service you give it a bit of a clean up afterwards. I don't mean like that, we'll do that afterwards. Make it look nice and clean and tidy. You've got to just pop your handle in. Just press the lever down. Pop the handle in, make sure it's the right way round. There we go. Like I said, I don't normally take the handle off to do these. Just pop your bolt through. Special Hoover handle bolt. It goes through. Only one way it'll go. It's a different size hole on the other end. That pops in there. Tighten him up. Make sure it's tight, otherwise you get a handle one. Then you've got to put the little lever on the handle. Pop the screw in first, it's easier. And then get your screwdriver and you can hold it as you assemble it, like so. Like so, he says, and it don't go on. It's a bit awkward doing it this way. I normally have it the other way around, but I'm trying to get it so that you can see what I'm doing. Right, that's that bit done. The handle works. Now, that's all the workings part done of it in the machine, so I'll just put that aside and we'll just do the agitator. I won't show too much about this, because if you've watched my film on the Hoover 652, I've already done an agitator on there, but basically speaking, those brushes actually don't look too bad. Done. Make sure it's clean round now. There's a bit of rubbish on there, I'll just get that off. Otherwise the belt might slip and it would burn or smell or something. Wire brush does the job. Something sticky on there, probably chewing gum or something, I don't know what she's got on there. Unless it's those smelly cats. Get the little wire brush on. Clean off. Now there's the belt. That belt is well worn actually, it's sort of flat round there, look. And you can see it's worn. So I'm going to put a new belt on there. And I'm going to empty the bag out, put a new paper bag in and get it ready. Before I put the bag on, I'm just going to show you I've actually put a new gasket in the bag flange there. This is the old one and it is worn down, and I could put it back in, but the only problem is that if I did so you'd get dust leakage around there, so I thought as I had one I'd put a new gasket in there. This makes a difference. Right, I've got the bag back on now. It's just basically now a matter of putting the agitator in. Just get it, make sure you get the squared end and the short end at that point, not the other way around. And there's a squared section down there where it fits in. Turn it round so that the H spring, as they call it, is in the right order to go down in that slot. And just a simple matter of pushing it in. Put the belt guard on. Turn it over. And then pop the belt onto the fan pulley. If you find it difficult to lift, just get something like a blunt screwdriver and do it like that. Make sure you put it on the right way round, because if you don't, if you put it on the other way round, what will happen is the belt will just throw off again. I think that's going to rub a bit, but we'll try it anyway. Put the front cover on. We'll just plug it in and see what happens, and then I'll give it a clean up. It'll be a bit noisy to start with because it's got new brushes and things in it, and they need to bed in, but basically it sounds alright. I'm just going to try it on the floor just to make sure. Oops. Switch on. Mind out, Paddy. There we go. You can probably hear it. It's running quite smooth. You can't see it because I can't bother to get the camera down. That's about it then, apart from cleaning up, which you don't want to see. So I should just give it a bit of a clean up with some foam cleaner. Just get the grease off the top and that's the job done. Hopefully it'll last another few more years. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.